And what is going on, everybody? So, welcome to the very first episode of the Philadelphia Phillies Talk with me, Robert from the Phillies Sports Talk podcast. So, today we're kind of going to go over free agency. But before we get right into it, for those who are new coming in, definitely smash the like button, definitely share the stream out, and definitely hit the subscribe button if you guys are new to the channel. And definitely have that notification bell turned on so you guys will not miss episodes like these, new podcast episodes, whatever the case may be. But kind of before I kind of get into deep diving into some of these potential free agents that hopefully my Phillies can sign, is that kind of go over the reason something I want to get off my chest a little bit is that the fact that Dombrowski, you either love him or you hate him. The fact that he wants to go over the luxury tax, but unfortunately, our cheap owner John Middleton won't authorize him to do so, which is ridiculous to say to a certain extent, to the point where the fact that we have I think the fifth highest payroll in baseball, but I don't know. It's just something that I feel like before we get obviously with the free agency and all that good stuff is that how do I want to describe this? It's just like Middleton is cheap. I'll kind of sum it up in the ways that, I want to kind of show something that Middleton is super cheap when it comes to the money, but that's here nor there. Honestly, I mean, we did kind of get a little bit of we have signed 3 free agents so far, the pre-lockout and the post-lockout. Before we get, into some of the other free agents that are out there, kind of go over a few things that obviously, for those who have not seen the video that I've made on Jarius Familia, he is going to be the new reliever for the Phillies bullpen going into the 2022 season on a 1-year, $6 million deal. And Brad Hand is now also joins the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen pieces. And then also we get a few other minor signing, Johan Camargo. I think it's going to be a good piece off the bench. And then obviously having someone like Corey Knebel, and he's another arm that's going to go in the bullpen. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy what I had to talk about. But with that kind of go out of the way, let's kind of get right into the free agency. So obviously with the free agent still going on within Major League Baseball, is that some players, which I will kind of will show you on this list to see who could be a potential fit. And you guys can let me know in the chat, what you guys think. Let me know what you guys is your potential free agents. But out of that way, kind of stop people blowing on my phone. Let's kind of go right over to it. So obviously, we all know that Kris Bryant is the number 1 free agent still out on the market when it comes to third baseman as it stands. The fact that obviously a very versatile player that the Phillies could probably take a look at because let's be real, if Kevin Long and Bobby Dickerson can't figure out let me rephrase that. If Bohm doesn't figure out how to kind of do the simple fundamentals with the Phillies going into 2022, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were looking for Kris Bryant, because I don't know if you guys saw that the Seattle Mariners did trade for Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez. I'll talk about that, even though that's a whole nother thing in itself. I hope so, man. But like I said in the intro, Middleton needs to stop being so goddamn cheap and needs to learn how to, or just basically sell the team at this point. Because the fact that you don't want to spend and not authorize, I'm going to take this off the screen. And the fact that, and like I said before about John Middleton being very cheap, and it's very true. The fact that the last couple of years we had the fifth highest payroll in baseball, but we're not willing to spend any ton of money. Only exception, the only time we spend that much amount of money is with the Bryce Harper deal back in February 2018. I'm just saying, man. Let's be real. I feel like they did mishandle Gary Sanchez, but I understand why a lot of Yankees fans have really bad complaints about him. I really hope so, because and kind of go. But a huge shout out to the 4 viewers watching on the stream right now. But back to the topic at hand. Obviously, Chris Bryant, obviously the top third baseman or not prospect, but the free agent out on the market as it stands. Obviously, like I said before, before kind of get right into reading the comments, is that I believe, obviously, like I said, if Bone can't figure things out as a hitter, obviously now with the universal DH coming in, hand over fielder since we brought back Bakary Dickerson and we brought in Kevin Long. I just think, let's see, what's going on, Nate? Yeah, what's going on, everybody? But yeah, so my thing is that Chris Bryant, who has proved himself, and let's be real, he's not that shabby as a left fielder though. Which now, if you think about it, the fact that he can also play both positions as a third baseman and a left fielder, if by some chance, but fingers crossed, if the Phillies find a way to land Chris Bryant, I think that's going to really, let's be real, kind of be a way significant upgrade than Alec Bohm. And granted, I really don't want to be so harsh on Bohm because obviously, yeah, 2020 was a shortened season and we don't know what he was capable of. Obviously, last season was his first full stint in the big leagues. Yeah, I mean, obviously he struggled, but I think with Bobby Dickerson coming back, which let's be real, it's just that because first of all, Bobby Dickerson should have never left Philadelphia, especially the Phillies, because last time I checked, our defense was what I think had like a total of 3 WAR, even though it was we had a lower defensive run save total, but our defense was better than it should have been. What it was back in 2018, 2019, before everything just went to hell. But I think now having someone like Kevin Long also has ties with Bryce Harper. I would not be surprised if we could probably make some moves to get more, at least try to acquire more pieces. Oh, definitely. Because I think if Bohm can, let's just say hypothetically, if Bohm can figure out being a good, consistent hitter and a good, decent fielder, I would not be surprised that Chris Bryant will be our starting left fielder. Now, and this is at times, Phillies fans can be one way or the other. In other words, it's basically just kind of how things kind of really go. They want to be, and as Key in the building once said, especially when it comes to Philly sports fans, they want everything instant. It's not like instant mashed potatoes. It's not great instant oatmeal, potato. I mean, whatever the case may be, how she ever put it that way. Let's see. See, I would have Matt Vierling because I actually like what I saw from Matt Vierling, in my honest opinion. Because if you think about it, Matt Vierling brought a lot more than what. I'm sorry, but and this is another thing I want to address is that people and yeah, Key. It's just that I hate the idea of bringing back Herrera, but the fact that people are so complaining about it because if you look, try to see the bigger picture here. We have $38 million to fucking spend, and a lot of people don't realize that. And this is what annoys me being a Phillies fan because we had to fucking deal with Middleton's cheapskate, basically his cheapness, and the fact that he's not authorizing Don Browski, he can spend as much, but not try to exceed the luxury tax threshold. So, yeah, had someone like someone like Don Browski who's willing to risk to go over the tax threshold and make some good moves, but unfortunately, Middleton won't do that, which kind of leads me to believe that Middleton, I think at this point, should just sell the team as it stands because I don't think Middleton is really unfit to be a Major League Baseball owner. But that's here nor there. Kind of the next guy on the list of this top free agents, which another one I would not mind trying to take a snag at, Nicholas Castellanos from the Cincinnati Reds. And I'll talk about... Yeah, you're telling me? Yeah, absolutely, Key. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. because it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just like we haven't, like, for those who kind of just wait, you guys, for those who have been like, we have not been to the postseason since 20, or made the playoffs since 2011. And it's 2022 going to be 20. It's been almost a 2022 season. So it's been almost 11 years. It's over a decade since we've seen the postseason. Haven't won the World Series since 2008. Haven't been in the World Series since 2009. We don't kind of watch that went down, but it just shows that at times it's like the Phillies at times it's like the way I want to describe this team is just like you have a love-hate relationship with them because I would disagree though, man. The fact that he doesn't want to go over the money, and this is the thing too. If you're gonna have this amount of money and you don't want to pay that extra because you don't want to go over the tax threshold, let's come on, be real here. Like, it's just like I hate owners that being cheap, but that's here nor there. I think another guy, like I said about Castellanos, I would not be too upset if we got one of the either Bryant or Castellanos, because let's be real, that's going to really help, at least help our outfield problems a little bit. Because obviously with this is going on with Odubel Herrera being in the platoon for the center field with Matt Vierling, which, let's be real, I actually like what I saw out of Matt Vierling, even though granted it was a short sample size. But I thought Matt Vierling, what he brought since coming into the major leagues, and the fact that that's true. That's very true as well. It's just, and that's another thing too. Like, God, what was it? Because I just actually saw something. Because, right. It's about Bryson Stott. And I'll get to Bryson Stott in just a second. Like he said, Harper is begging for hitting. So it can come down to one or two ways that you got to get Chris Bryant on one hand, who can play third and can play the outfield, and you got Nicholas Castellanos, who, let's be real, known has, and I've seen the last couple of years, he's kind of been a thorn in our side when we played the Cincinnati Reds. But Castellanos, but then again, right? See, I would like Castellanos, but the problem is he is a right fielder. But I don't know if he plays other outfield positions. I don't know if he plays, because if he could play either left or center, I would not be too. I would like that, because let's be real, our right fielder is Harper, as it stands, the 2022 MVP. But yet, it's like Castellanos is not a bad option to take. But Correa, blah. Honestly, I haven't I don't want Correa. I mean, let me back that up. Like, I don't want Correa, despite yet he is a good shortstop, but I don't think he's the fit for us, because we have an up-and-coming shortstop, which is Bryson Stott. And let's be real, we got to get Didi out of here. I think Key, and I think a lot of other Phillies fans know Didi has to go, because if he doesn't bounce back, I think it is time for Bryson Stott to take that next step and be that shortstop we desperately need. Now, another thing is, I don't think a lot of people have talked about is Gene Segura. I know he's getting up there in age, but you got to look at it this way. He's been our consistent 300 hitter the last couple of years. He's pretty much on our own base machine. Once everything goes through him, when everything gets started through him, that's when we start, and at times I saw some games, we've won games through, some of the production from Gene Segura. Let's be real, kind of very super underappreciated is that, he's been great. And that's a very good point from Keen to me. Yeah. And Key brought up a good point. Even though we had him as a shortstop at one point, we also had him at third, but it looked like he truly found a home at second base. And it just seemed like he looked comfortable, and this is the thing too about it with some of these players is it's all about the feeling of comfort. Obviously, we know that if you looked at Bryce, and let's take Bryce Harper, for example. if you look back through his career, he's played center field and to play left field at times, but he looked like he was uncomfortable in those two positions. But when he got back to right field, that's where he kind of just went. What's going on, Asia? I appreciate you coming by. Yeah, but for that, definitely smash the like button. Definitely share the stream out. Try at least gonna be about hour 15 minutes for you guys. For me, I don't know. I don't know about Correa. I mean, even though he has. Yo, what's going on, Matt? What's going on, Hayden? Shit, I appreciate you guys coming through on this. Let's see. Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, actually, let's go over Key's comment right here. She says, if JT, Reese, Bryce all hit well, we should be okay. And that is very true. And I'll say this, obviously last season, the fact that Hoskins went down with a core injury, that hurt us. That took a chunk out of our offense. And I think he can attest to this too. Like, we were getting hot at the right time with Hoskins, and Hoskins was getting hot at the same time. See, I mean, we all know that Harper was pretty much at times. I think early in the season he was a bit inconsistent, but once he started to get everything clicking, it's just everything just kind of went through there, so to speak. But kind of go over the other free. Now this, I think everybody has been kind of taking a look at this. Is good old Freddie Freeman. And now, obviously, I don't know if everybody saw I know Key has saw the blockbuster. I think a lot of baseball fans saw the trade that went down between the Braves and the Oakland A's. Look, Matt Olson is a good first baseman. But the fact of the matter is that they're letting Freddie Freeman walk. I think that's going to come back to bite them in the ass because, let's be real, Freddie Freeman is what defined, other than way before Acuna Jr., who's the face of that franchise, is that Freddie Freeman was the heart and soul of that Braves team. I say, this is why I think Freddie is probably going to be. Is he going to go elsewhere to get some better money? Absolutely. See, for me, actually, Familia, I don't mind it if he can be consistent enough. Because I do like those two guys, but but obviously both pitchers have their cons to them. Brad Hand, if you look at like the last couple of, obviously look at last season, he got knocked around a little bit. But he's got some good stuff to really to close out games. And with Familia, the fact he's a sinker ball pitcher, which I think is really what's going to help. Especially in with their ballpark, which is hitter friendly. If he can be the 2015, 2016 version of himself, I think we should be fine. I really think we should. And same with, and you can make the argument same too with Brad Hand at the same time. Yeah. Now that you think about it, we could. Oh yeah, but still, I think I think Freddie's really going to cost a lot. But I would not be. But that's just crazy to see. But that Freddie. I mean, yes, Key. I understand Freddie is a dream, but for me, the way that I see it is that. Yo, cheers, Steve. Appreciate you coming by. But yeah, huge shout out to the 6 viewers watching the stream. If you guys are new to the channel, definitely smash that like button. Definitely hit the subscribe button. And definitely share the stream out because I will just be doing more of these depending on which days I want to do them. But kind of going forward. So kind of going next free agent on the list, Kenley Jansen. Now, obviously, like I said, I did mention Corey Knebel, which we did get from the Dodgers. Now, yes, I think Kenley Jansen is still a good reliever to have. Now, the question is, how much he's going to be worth? That's going to be the big question for Kenley Jansen, especially during down the stretch last season. The fact that he, kind of found his old selves in terms of, getting up there in the upper 90s, especially with the devastating cutter and a good breaking ball. I thought he was a good, and he actually was a good bullpen arm for the Dodgers. Now, who knows if we're going to be bringing back bring back Archie Bradley. I know we still got Alvarado under contract, I think for another year. We still got Sam Coonrod, which he this is his last year of his contract before he's arbitration eligible. From what I've understood. But yeah, it's just like Kenley Jansen's another guy I would not hesitate to try to make a move on. And obviously, like 2021, since posted the lowest ERA of his career since 2017 at 2.22. And I would not be surprised. And trust me, I would not be mad if we can get another bullpen arm, because the way that this team is, what we're missing is obviously bullpen arm should be number one, because obviously now with the new what do you call it, the 12-team postseason, I think what the Phillies are doing right, especially with these bullpen arms, they could use a lot of depth. And let's be real, I think depth should be like the biggest key for any team. And I think someone getting like Jansen, I would not be too mad if they took a chance on. But yeah, so these are kind of the free agents that's still on the market. But kind of go over a few things is that, what the Phillies are, see, and this is the kind of thing too, it's just like, yeah, at times the Phillies, the way you can describe this team, they pretty much got they got Katy Perry syndrome. And the words key, even though they're hot, like for example, like after the All-Star break, this is when we were starting getting hot. Because obviously at the point we were starting getting hot is after we, after getting swept by the Diamondbacks, losing to the Orioles, and then losing 2-3 from Pittsburgh, which let's be real, was not the best thing to really watch. But I kind of feel like, losing 2 out of 3 from the Pirates, obviously winning game 3, which really did start our 8-game winning streak. I think another point too is like we also dealt with battle injuries. I think a lot of teams did, but us, we had to go overcome it. Obviously, Archie Bradley is still dealing with the oblique injury. From what I thought it was an oblique injury, I might be wrong on that. Oh God, I appreciate it, Key. Yep, good old Key's on Facebook too. But yeah, it's just like, obviously, with Archie dealing with an oblique, the fact, and let's be real, I mean, after this lockout was before this, obviously we now are in the post lockout, which thank God that's finally over with. There were some players that I wish we should at least try to sign if kept like another year or 2 years. And one of them was Hector Neris as our setup guy. Now, granted, I know Hector Neris at times is loved and sometimes is hated in the city of Philadelphia. And I kind of understand why the hate side of things, because, obviously, let's be real, he's not a closer type material, but obviously, we all know that Houston's going to make good use out of him. Because obviously it's just like, I don't know, man. We just really we have some of our fans really don't. I mean, I truly do. But I appreciate it, cool, man, you coming through on the streams. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like where like this team, and look, and I love this team with a passion. Obviously, you can tell. Yeah, that Key brought up a good point. That's the reason why sometimes he's hated. He does blow saves, but I'll give him props for being the Phillies' all-time strikeout reliever or strikeout record holder as a reliever in franchise history. See, that's something which is the fact that he has accomplished that feat is something that I don't know. I would never have thought he was been. See, now that is good. That's a good question. From what the last time I saw during the lockout, I think he had a hard time getting a visa, and that is worrisome to me. Oh, and cool, to really answer that question, I do like where the Rangers are going. I kind of do. It's just like, let's kind of bring up. But yeah, like thought and kind of take a little bit of a break of what I was saying before. basically what the series, it kind of described the series a little bit. This kind of series is like where I, kind of want to, kind of go over the things before opening day, and obviously with spring training coming around the corner, because I think games are Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just like, and this is what I think. And speaking with Ranger Suarez too, like the fact what this kid can do, especially has how long he's been in the Phillies organization, being bounced from a starter to a reliever and bounced back to a starter, especially obviously last year battling with the virus. And then he comes back and has like a Greg Max kind of season and just being it. Look, he may not be those guys that can throw like, now you're seeing like these pitchers nowadays throw like basically almost 100 plus at this point, or basically 95 plus. But, it was at times Ranger Suarez can top out on 95, but he doesn't really want to blow you away with, velocity. He kind of just, I think he controls the game. I think at between like 93, 94 miles an hour on the fastball and some good breaking stuff. It's just, the fact what Ranger was able to accomplish since coming into the rotation is, I'm just saying, a spectacular to really see for someone like Ranger Suarez, who, let's be real, we haven't had the lefty in the rotation since either like Cole Hamels or Cliff Lee. And let's be real, and that tells you how long has been since we had a lefty. Ooh, wow, okay. Now, that is a good question. That can go, failure, total time. That is a very good question. Because it can come down to one of five players. You had the late Roy Halladay, God rest his soul, Bryant Howard, Chase Utley. You know what? I'm actually really liking Zach Wheeler, since obviously he is kind of a bit current. But I'll hold. Yeah, that's very true. Kind of answer that question. I think for me is Ryan Howard is my all-time favorite Philly, especially when it comes to Philadelphia Phillies baseball. Is that the thing about Howard is when I first saw him broken in 2006, at first I didn't know what to think of it, and then once I think between like 2007, 2008, where he started winning on like I think he finished like over 50 home runs in I think to either 07 or 08, and the fact that and obviously he was one of our biggest pieces to our World Series run in 2008. It's just how just a lot of J-Roll's another guy that I think a lot of people are really on. And I'll say this too. I really like J-Roll, but the fact what he said in 2007, say, we're going to be here again, but in the World Series, and look what happens. 2008, they had that, that great run, in 2008 to win the World Series. Especially some games that I've enjoyed watching. Obviously, for those who didn't watch the Brewers series in 2008, obviously the good old country former baseball player turned country star Brett Myers. I had to reckon. Obviously, his music is good, but what Brett Myers is known for is basically his crazy at bat against CC Sabathia. And at the time, this was prime CC Sabathia, where he was not throwing like between 89 to 92 back to. I think a couple of years ago when I don't think he even retired. I don't think Sabathia came out and retired, said he was retiring. But this is at the time where Sabathia at one point in his career was actually throwing 95 plus in his prime. It's just like probably one of the best playoff games that I've watched. And obviously, what sucks is that I didn't get to see the World Series because I had to go to school. Well, not scratch that. It's just like I hadn't, because where I was living at the time, I couldn't watch it because, well, actually, I've watched between games 1 and 3. It's just like now looking back on it, it's just that team was just really good. It was, I would say, they were not great. I mean, they were great. Obviously. You still had Chooch behind the plate. You had Howard at first, Utley at second. And Utley at times, I know at times his play can be hated at times, and sometimes rightfully so. But what I do like about Utley is like the Mets fans hates him. That's what I find it funny of all times, is how the Mets fan, he owns the Mets. That's what I find really funny about that. But I think, obviously, the Coca-Cola part of the Citi Field, I think a lot of Philly fans know that is Utley's corner, where he pretty much smacks home runs all the time. And, he doesn't really give, like, he's just a hard-nosed player between the lines, but it looks like his play style is just pretty interesting to watch. But a huge shout but before we go any further, a huge shout to the 5 viewers in the chat. Definitely smash the like button. Definitely hit the subscribe button if you guys are new. Let's kind of, okay, let me bring up some more, kind of see some actual stuff for this. Obviously, we're still in the off season. So right now, so far as the deals, as you can definitely see, is that the Phillies have made, well, obviously the deals, obviously before, pre-lockout, which is Corey Knebel, and he's going to, and from what, I'll bring this up on screen. So as it states, like, obviously our biggest acquisition before the lockout was right-hander Corey Knebel, and I have done that video on the channel, which I had the breaking me. Because now I'm going to start doing more baseball content for you guys. Definitely more like but kind of go before we get into a few other things. I am going to be doing some live play-by-play Phillies games this year, which is going to be fun to do, especially the Dodgers series, which, let's be real, I'm probably not going to get any sleep afterwards because I'll do the entire series. Because I know Key's going to think I'm going to be crazy doing 3 10 o'clock games at night in a row in the month of May. But I'll talk about that more once we get past, that soon. But so far as what I'm showing you guys right now, our biggest acquisition was right-hander Corey Knebel, who they're saying that he's going to be our closer, which, let's be real, I like Alvarado, but I think Alvarado should be our setup guy. Should be in that Hector Neris role, our 7th and 8th inning guy, be our multiple innings eater. And then bring in Corey Knebel, who has a good track record of being a closer. Has he blown a few games? Absolutely. And at times, good closers blow games. I mean, hey, if you look back in Mariano's Hall of Fame career, like, he has blown some games, and you don't see a lot. And it just shows that, yeah, a lot of teams, a lot of closers at times can be perfect. Some cannot. It happens. That's part of the game of baseball. Like, the game is all about streaks. And obviously, a lot of people don't really saw this signing coming. Was utility infielder to Johan Camardo, which they signed up hours before the lockout. And then obviously after the lockout, they agreed to terms on Jerry's Familia on a 1-year deal Saturday. So, and obviously, and kind of go back over some of the other moves that they made. They claimed, God, I'm not going to say this dude's name. Yon Lopez. I don't forgot where he came from, but they got more extra left-handers, Scott Moss, Ryan Sheriff, and Kent Emanuel off of waivers. And so, and also picked up another right-handed pitcher, Nick Nelson, an extra catcher, Donnie Sands in the trade with the Yankees, obviously getting Garrett Stubbs in a trade with the Astros. So both Sands and this is what I think. And I think I said this. I don't think I said this before. Especially this is my first Phillies live stream. Obviously, we all know that Andrew Knapp was a decent backer for JT. Was he the best? Absolutely not. He was just a putrid hitter. But a lot of people would say, like, oh, his game. It's like, look, if you looked at it, he's decent defensively, but his offense was just meh. Like, he was a sub 200 hitter, but what he does make up for with the speed. But now with the Reds, which I'll talk about the Reds in just a little bit, is that now we have a competition for Real Milton to have his backup catcher. Say, because obviously with the universal DH in place, let's think about it this way. Like, for example, like if JT can, if like if you're gonna give JT an let's say what, maybe like a day off behind the plate, put him in the DH. That's why I think this is why I think this is why I think I believe having the universal DH, especially in the National League, I think is really what's going to help the Phillies. I think the Phillies are going to take good advantage of that universal DH. Because another guy I feel like can be a good DH is Brad Miller. Now, I said this too about Brad Miller. I think a couple times. I think one time on one of Between the Lines podcast, which let's be real, we're finally bringing that back. Unfortunately, we had to put that on the back burner because of the goddamn lockout. But I kind of said something about along the lines of, or no, this was actually off screen. I kind of said something to a few friends of mine off screen that Brad Miller is good, but he's just not that great defensively. But offensively, if you have him as a DH, I think he should be fine. I think his DH, him being part of that universal DH, I think is going to really I think that those are going to take advantage of. But I don't know. But yeah, so kind of go further. So yeah, like I said before, talk about potential new DH options is that Donnie Stans and Garrett Stutz will compete for JT for Realmuto's backup in case he needs a day off and all that, about the 40-man roster and all that. So as you can see this, because I think this was taken before the lockout, that we were linked to Kyle Schwarber and Kevin Kiermaier. Now, my thing is with these two, it's just like they're like, which is weird because I think these two players, they're polar opposites of each other. I mean, Kiermaier is great defensively, and he has been improving offensively, but I think defense is his biggest strong suit. He's mostly a defensive center fielder. But Kyle Schwarber, at times he is a strikeout, sometimes can strike out at a high rate sometimes, but he is good with the bat because I've watched. Because there are times where I've watched from his time, not in from his time with the Nationals, and when he spent majority of his time with the Chicago Cubs, like he can handle the bat pretty well. So I think that's another guy I think we should really need to kind of take a look at, especially if we need it for the for the universal DH, like I kind of mentioned before. But yeah, so obviously we all know that Neris signed with the Astros So obviously the Phillies did want to try and bring him back, but unfortunately they had no desire to beat Houston. So he got paid for a 2-year deal, $17 million to join the Houston Astros, which sucks, but at times I just feel like it's the weird thing. It's like, I liked him, but I hate him at the same time, which is the weirdest thing you could probably think about with Hector Neris. At times he was a bit inconsistent. Yes, you can definitely make that argument. But I think since moving out of the closer's role, he's been I feel like at times he has been elite in the ways that, since moving out of the closer's role, like I mentioned, it's just like he just doesn't have that pressure. And I think this is a lot of times. I feel like this is where I think, being a closer, being a closer on the baseball team is no easy task because there's a lot of pressure that comes with it. And you saw it with some of these other closers as well, which is really hard to do at times. But yeah, rightfully so. But so obviously, our original backup, Nat signed a minor league deal with the Reds. And then J.D. Hammer signed with the Rockies on a minor league deal as well. But obviously, with McCutchen now signed with the Brewers, let's be real. I thought McCutchen did pretty well since his time here. I really enjoyed having McCutchen during his time here. Obviously, unfortunately, we're bringing back Herrera, which, let's be real, I'm one of those guys. I'm not too high on Herrera. He's super inconsistent. He's super undisciplined at the plate. It's just like he's very, how can I say this? Like, obviously with the off the field stuff that I think a lot of us Phillies fans know that we kept a close eye on. And I think that's the reason why we don't want him back, because I kind of feel like it might be a distraction into the locker room. Maybe that's just from what I know in my personal opinion. Um, Brad Miller, I think we should bring back, because I think he has been kind of good. He's been good off the bench. Let's not be real. Not gonna lie, has been pretty decently. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's been decent since, obviously, with Hoskins being injured with the core injury. Kind of been playing first. He's not great defensively by any stretch of the means, but he knows how to handle the bat, which, like I mentioned before, with the University DH now in place this year, is that it just shows that at times, I think the other word, it's just like, if you look at it too, I mean, I would not be surprised if we can bring back Brad Miller. I think by this way, the fact that we call him Bamboo Brad for a reason. I mean, we call him Bamboo Brad for a reason. Since he brought that bamboo plant in the locker room, I mean, that's when these was just starting on a hitting streak afterwards. Since then, I would still keep him. Archie Bradley, I thought he actually did pretty well before that oblique injury kind of screwed him up, which, let's be real, an oblique injury is not that easy to come back from, even though from personal experience, I never suffered an oblique injury, but okay, let's just think about it this way. Obviously, when Cesar was here, obviously dealing with that oblique injury, he wasn't the same Cesar that we saw before he suffered that injury. It's just that, obviously right in the rib area, which is a hard thing to come back from. Yes. But I thought before that, Archie Bradley looked solid. I thought he was a solid arm on a 1-year deal. So I would still bring him back. I think one guy and obviously it shows Ian Kennedy on the screen. For me, I would just let somebody else pick him up, because Kennedy at times, he was like a heart attack when he comes in. Like say, okay, for example, like if it's a 2-run lead going to the bottom in the top of the 9th, and you have him coming in, like, it gets your heart racing. It really, truly does. It's just one of those things. It's like where Kennedy looked good, but he wasn't that great. That's why I think he just should not return. But it does say the best bet to return is Brad Miller, and definitely you can make the same argument for Archie Bradley. Now it's just crazy to look at. It's just how, let's just be real. Like, it's just tough to really see what this team can do, what this team is going to do, especially now that Dombrowski can spend a lot, but still can't exceed the luxury tax threshold. But the way that I see it, it's just like, I don't like that. Like, you're one of the other big market teams in the Major League Baseball. You got Los Angeles, who's very known to spend money. Never seen the Mets doing it. Someone's got to let me know in the chat who else is on the big market team, because I'm really dropping. I think also, I can't think of another team off the top of my head who's a big market team. I know Philadelphia is, because we spent $330 million on Bryce Harper. Probably one of my favorite Phillies as it stands, because it's like, obviously winning the 2021 MVP, and a very close one at that too, because between him, because I feel like with him and his former teammate Juan Soto, which I had made a video on Juan Soto, the fact he turned down a contract extension is mind-boggling to say the least. But it's just that, having someone like Soto, or having those two guys, both great players for the respective teams. No, there's no question about that. It's just that I think what Harper has done, and I don't think, and look, I know the power wise, I think Tatis had that advantage, or had the numbers over both of them. But it came down to like other numbers, and not just like numbers, but what Harper has been able to do, especially down the stretch, because I think like the late second half of the year, obviously we all know that the Washington Nationals were basically basically in terms of being eliminated from postseason contention. Unlike us, we pretty much were riding the bat, I should say, of Bryce Harper, because when unfortunately that unfortunate injury to Reese Hoskins, because those, and kind of speaking about about Reese Hoskins, is that the core injury that he suffered, which number one, it sucked. Number two, it came at the worst possible time that it should have been. But like say if it came, let's say at the end of the first half, which I would understand, well, unfortunately he suffered it at the second half of the year, which, let's be real, it just sucked to see. I don't know, man. It's just, but I think Hoskins and Harper, before Hoskins got injured, I thought, I thought these guys were on base machines. Like they were getting walked constantly, because I think most of the time a lot of teams were pitching around it because they know they can pay for you for your mistakes when you make a bad pitch. In other words, but it's just like, obviously for those that I showed about the free agents, and obviously there's probably going to be more free agents to come. Just definitely going to keep a close eye out on that. I'll probably do like a free agent live stream too at the same time. Make sure kind of see where we're kind of standing at the same time. But yeah, it's crazy to see because like I said earlier in the stream, is that the two guys I would not mind getting either one of them is either Castellanos from the Reds or Chris Bryant. But obviously, since the Reds made that horrible trade with Seattle to get 4 prospects in exchange for Henry Suarez and Jesse Winker, it showed that it does increase our chances to at least try to make a push for Chris Bryant. And Kyle Schwarber's another guy, I think, hopefully we can still take a shot at. It's just one of those things. It's like how, in other words, because if I'm Don Browski, you got to start doing your due diligence and really look into who's going to be the best fit for this team, because we all know that obviously Hoskins going to come back healthy. Obviously with Zach Wheeler kind of get off into a slow start. Obviously dealing with some shoulder disorders, which, let's be real, it's not really nothing serious. So, which, let's be real, that is a good thing to really have, because Zach Wheeler probably had the best year of his career for what he is, like the fact that he was that much of a workhorse, because Nola couldn't step up as the ace of this staff, and it looks like most likely Nola's going to take another opening day start, which, I mean, I don't mind it, but just like he's got to find a way to step up this year, because I have made a video about it, kind of talking about at times it's like if he does, like in other words, basically if he doesn't step up, should the Phillies kind of consider put him on the trading block, because it kind of gets to the point. Let's like it's just like it's hard to really because I just said this too. It's just like with Nola, like if he because he had 2 good years. That was 2018 and 2019. Because 2018 was where he finished 3rd in the Cy Young Award race. So obviously Jacob deGrom won it because of some stupid numbers, but it's here nor there. But like I mentioned in that video, it's just, if Noah cannot replicate what he did in 2018 and 2019, which is probably his 2 good years since his tenure here in Philadelphia, in my opinion, I think it's time to move on from Nola, because it's just, I really hate to see it because I really enjoy, or not say enjoyed, but I really liked the Phillies draft, when they drafted him, because I've kept a close eye on him during his time at LSU. It's just like, 2015, yeah, he got off to a rocky start, but he did finish strong in the rookie year. And actually, I thought he had a decent rookie year. 2016, he started getting better. 2017, he just started getting better. After 2019, it's just like he just, for some reason, took a step backwards. I mean, it's just like, I feel like but in my opinion, I think he's going to find a way to bounce back from last season. I think it's just like, if he can replicate, like I said, and this is what I'll say, in terms of Nola, and who else is going to be in that rotation? If Nola can figure out and pull back, and revert to his old 2018, 2019 self, I think he should be fine. But like I said before, if he does not find a way to do so and get better and, try to be, let's be real, try to be staying deeper in games, I think it's time to shop for, or at least make Wheeler the ace, because and speaking of Zach Wheeler, yeah, for those who don't know, he is dealing with shoulder soreness, but he has come out and said, he is feeling good, which is a good sign. I know, because he's not going to be ready for opening day, which it's going to hurt. Not really to a certain extent, but I think he's going to be fully healthy. Just dealing with like an offseason setback, which is not a huge worries in the world as it stands. It's just, how it's just, I don't know, man. It's just like you'd like to see a lot of these teams succeed, It really is just like Nola. I mean, obviously, I think Noel's 28, 29? Someone let me know in the chat how old, because let me double check for you. Because I have because he made his 20. What do you, God, I am feels, and like I said, and this is another thing too, like ever since his debut in 2015, like it's just crazy to really look back on it. It's just like, in other words, it's like with Zach, I think what Zach Wheeler has done, I'll go back to Aaron Nola just a second, is that what Wheeler did this year is remarkable to see what kind of the workhorse that Wheeler is. The fact, and what makes it even more special is that obviously they had a special day in the tribute for the late Roy Halladay, which finally when they retired his number 34, which and this kind of ties into Bryce Harper when he first signed with Philadelphia. Say he was not going to wear number 34 because he wanted the late Doc Roy Halladay to be the last one to wear that number. It just shows that the respect that Roy Halladay has had, after his playing career. Now being in the Hall of Fame, and which is crazy too. You see like these other guys that have Hall of Fame careers, played with multiple teams. It's like, and they just don't want to choose the team that they're most associated with, but they just want to be part of that, that honor to be, because that's pretty much the ultimate goal of a Major League Baseball player, is to reach the Hall of Fame. It's just, but I think Jesus Christ. But yeah, a lot of, what's going on, Naomi? What's good? But it's just like, okay, so like kind of go, obviously now kind of go a little bit, kind of ramping off a little bit, but it's just like what Wheeler did, especially on that day on Roy Halladay's tribute. It's just like, I feel like call me crazy. Call me like, you could call me if I'm crazy, but I just feel like he channeled his inner Roy Halladay. It's just of what he was able to accomplish in a very inefficient way at that. And I think it was the Braves, I'm not mistaken, that 3-game set. I think it was against the Braves. Okay, yeah, so Nola is 28, so it's just crazy to see what the kind of talent we sometimes have in the rotation. Because obviously, and this kind of goes into Zach Eflin too. It's just that Eflin, before he got hurt, I like what he saw. I thought he was going to be a good mainstay as the number 3 guy, but unfortunately, a weird injury occurred with Eflin. Obviously, kind of spend like another 5-10 minutes with you guys. Is that the Eflin's injury, which sucked, and at times you don't like see players getting hurt, but especially with what Wheeler was able to accomplish, and what Eflin was going to do, and what Eflin was doing in the first half of the year before he got hurt, which kind of hurt the rotation a little bit. So that's the reason why we made that trade with the Texas Rangers to send Spencer Howard and I think and a few other prospects over in exchange to bring in Kyle Gibson and who else we did? Ian Kennedy, but we still got Gibson for another year under contract. And I actually did like the trade though. It's just that Ian Kennedy just really fell off. I mean, it's just like it got to the point where it's like you hate to see like when he comes into like the game to be for the like a save situation, it just raises your blood pressure. Like Ian Kennedy, the other way I can describe it, like he looks like he's the kind of guy that in tough situations he's gonna give you a heart attack. And the way that it's like, and with with Kyle Gibson, is that I thought he did pretty well, but there were times where he did fell off, especially I think the second half of the year. Some games where he just wasn't himself since he came to Philly. Do I think he's going to bounce back? Absolutely. I think some of these and obviously what was going on with Ranger. From what last time I checked, he's having a hard time getting a visa, especially during the lockout. Is that it's tough to really, especially with these international players that start getting visas and whatnot. But I really hope he can make it. I think he's going to make an opening day in time. Because I liked what we saw. I think a lot of Phillies fans know what we liked out of Ranger Suarez. Obviously a good left-handed arm, which, like I mentioned before, we hadn't had since either Cliff Lee or Cole Hamels back in 2015. What was the last time we had Cole? And which is crazy to think, it's like that was the last time we ever had Cole Hamels. Obviously traded to the Texas Rangers, and then he got traded to the Cubs, and then traded to the Braves. Pitched I think a few games for them, and then wind up getting hurt, the shoulder injury. And is that I did make a video about this too. For me, as much as I have a lot of respect for and a lot of love for Cole Hamels, I think the guy should should hang it up. I mean, he's done enough. He had a good career though. I'll say that. But it's just one of those things. It's like where, I don't know, man. It's just like the other ways that I can describe about Cole Hamels is like he was actually I think his prime years were pretty good. I really enjoy what he can do in the prime of his career, especially during the World Series run in 2008. I think, and there's some guys that were super underappreciated. I think Madsen at times was very underappreciated for the kind of reliever that he was. I know Brad Lidge, I think, got a lot of love because the fact, actually, since we're kind of talking about that, I want to bring up the that Brad Lidge. Let's just kind of bring that up. Okay, I want to actually, why not kind of talk about that since kind of talk about Brad Lidge. Probably, let's be real, the only true closer that we had during that time. But kind of go over, kind of finish off this pretty much, I'll say a pretty much decent episode start off to the series. Obviously, you can check this out on, because obviously this is an article from a year ago. I want to go over a few things. So on November 7th, 2007, so the Houston Astros traded Eric Bruntlett and Brad Lidge to the Phillies in exchange for Michael Bourne, Mike Costanzo, and Jeff Gurry. Man, I have not heard that name in fucking forever. Unfortunately, man, that's just crazy to think. Jeff Gurry, jeez, I haven't heard that name in years. Michael Bourne, I actually really enjoyed it from his time here back in 2007. Mike Costanzo, I do not know much about, but the fact when we brought up Bruntlett, and this brings up another recent memory from the Phillies, his unofficial triple play against the New York Mets. That's the only thing what I know. That's pretty much what Eric Bruntlett is pretty much known for since then. But it kind of goes on to say, so it says that the Philadelphia Phillies and the Astros have made 22 trades over the years. You can name 5 or 6 of them as the most impactful one made. And from what I remember is the, what do you call it? Obviously this Brad Lidge trade, because I had a good feeling this was going to really be impactful, especially going into next year, and we saw that. Especially in the regular season in 2008, Lidge was, in fact, he was dominant that he was, especially coming out of the bullpen, 48 for 48 and save opportunities. I think both sides kind of, and I thought, and Michael Bourne had a pretty good career with Houston. It's just like I think the trade worked out on both sides, from what I remember. Now, who won the trade? I don't know, because like I said, both teams I thought made some significant had some impactful sides for each of them. And now that mind you, this is way before the Astros became an American League team at the time. So now they also say, and it also goes on to say that Houston has always has been a sort of a farm system for the Phillies to pick out of when they needed that one piece, to make a run. When they added Kurt Schilling, Billy Wagner, Hunter Pence, and Roy Oswald. Now, Hunter, and kind of speaking about Hunter Pence, I gotta say this, dude. During this time here, he was the most unorthodox player you could ever see. In other words, basically, he was like a bad ball hitter, basically like what Vlad Guerrero Sr. was, and during that time. Obviously hitting some bad pitches, but still find a way to make bad pitches, work for base hits and all that. But and it also goes to say, we all know how this went. I remember that one pretty well, when we sent Ken Giles to Houston in exchange for Vince Velasquez and former number one pick Mark Capel, which he is making a comeback in the Phillies AAA system as it's right now. Last couple of years. I'm not saying. I mean, 2020 is where the minor league season was pretty much canceled at that point. We can exclude that, but the last couple of years, Mark Capel, for those who don't know, retired at the age of 28, is trying to make a comeback into the major leagues, which has not happened yet. But do I want to see him in the major leagues? Absolutely, because I want to see someone who actually gave up on the game because I just feel like he just thought he couldn't do it. But the fact that the matter is that he's trying to make a comeback and try to prove that he wants to be in the major leagues. Hey, look, I'm all for that. Now, but speaking of Vince Velasquez, if you're a Chicago White Sox fan, I feel bad for you. And I'll say this before I close it out for you guys. Is that now you're going to be stuck with him. Now, the contract-wise, I don't know how long the contract is, but let's be real. He is not the best pitcher that we've seen and for what the Padres have dealt with. But that's here and there. Obviously, it goes on to say in 2007, the Phillies won the division despite not having the most sound closer situation, especially with former starter Brett Myers. Had 21 saves. I don't remember that. Well, that's something that I have not. God, Flash Gordon, Antonio Alfonseca. And there is some of these names I have not heard in years. So that's kind of says something a little bit. But yeah, at one point he had Lidge saved 42 games, and really he made a case for the Cy Young when he got traded to Philly, which is crazy really to think about what Lidge was as a pitcher back in 2007. Oh, geez. Well, that's going to be another thing I'm actually going to talk about before I close it out for the next, let's just say like another 5 minutes or so. Because I really enjoy doing it, guys. Speaking of the Untitled Chapter, you actually can check out this video right here, and they kind of go on to say about that. But it does go on to say that the deal cost Michael Bourne Philadelphia Michael Bourne, a speedy center fielder who would win multiple gold gloves, and infield prospect Mike Costanzo, who actually played 17 big league games with an man, that's bad. And then veteran reliever Jeff Gary, who was out of the league after 2010. And then obviously part of that trade was Eric Bruntlett, who pretty much played every position. And as like I mentioned before, that he was known to turn the unassisted triple play against the New York Mets. But yeah, it's just crazy really to see what this, how much. Yo, what's good, Hunter? Good shit. I like to see. Good to see. What's good? What's good, Hunter? Yeah, man, appreciate you coming to come by, kind of talk about like another 10. Let's go try another 10, 15 minutes, kind of reliving some good old memories from the Phillies past. So obviously, like I have on the screen, is the impactful trade in the Phillies history. Yeah, God, Bruntlett. Like I said, Bruntlett's the only one guy that I feel like a lot of people will kind of remember him for the unassisted triple play against the New York Mets. And thinking about this too, it's just like, and I did kind of go over the, God, should have been. It's going to be 15. November 7th is going to be 15 years since that trade went down between to get Bruntlett and Lidge in exchange for Michael Bourne, Mike Costanzo, and Jeff Gary. Yeah, I remember. Oh God, yeah, that brings back some memories. And signing into home to win Game 3, absolutely. Wait, Kurt Schilling put. See, I don't see, which is crazy as a longtime Phillies fan. I don't remember even the Phillies even having Billy Wagner. Which is the funny thing is because when I think of Billy Wagner, I think with the New York Mets because that's where the last time I remember Billy Wagner. I think he was the closer for the Mets. Was at the early got to be before the 20 or in the mid 2000s, give or take. But God, the fact that Brett Myers, and this is something that I didn't know, he got the job done with 21 saves, which is really interesting to really think about now because, and like I mentioned too earlier, because I know Hunter, I know you kind of popped in late at the back end of this, but it's just like, that from what I remember when it comes to Brett Myers, by the way, his music is great. So I'll just say that much because the fact that but that's a whole nother thing in itself. But the fact what Brett Myers was as a pitcher at the time, Brett Myers was probably one of my favorite pitchers other than Cole Hamels. Roy Oswalt, I like to some extent. Oh my God. I was about, 2004. God, man, that's way too fucking long ago. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I see this, and that's crazy. Like, there's a lot of things that us Phillies fans we didn't even know that actually happened. But yeah, now this was something because this is going to be very interesting to read for you guys. Chase Utley, the fact that Chase Utley almost became a St. Louis Cardinal in 2000, which, yeah, on the way, yeah, and now if my memory serves me right, I remember Jamie Rollins said something about what was it? Okay, let me do something really quick. Get rid of the goddamn. On the first, because obviously this takes place during the 2020 MLB draft. That's just crazy to really think Myers with 21 saves. You would never expect for a starter to actually pull that job off, but the fact that it helped the Phillies to win that 2007 NL East title, but unfortunately we fell short of the World Series that year. But the following year made the World Series, and I think we actually made a lot of improvements too, if I'm not mistaken too. But obviously before, because obviously, okay. So there was this was like before the NFL draft. So obviously before, 20 years to the 2000 MLB draft, Phillies history could have easily changed at the hands of the St. Louis Cardinals. Why wow, that's going to be great. That's very crazy to really understand. No, let's be real. How that came to be, because I really don't really much about the Phillies back in 2000, because it's like, a lot of this, because this is like before, because obviously Howard, like I said, at the last, because when I first found about Howard when he first broke into the Phillies organization in 2006, when he made his major league debut, and basically been a huge power threat for the Philadelphia Phillies, and probably one of the best first basemen that we had. I know a lot of people, we had some decent third basemen, but nothing can compare to what Mike Schmidt did in the 80s for the Philadelphia Phillies. Probably one of our greatest third basemen of all time, hands down. But catcher-wise, for me, I think overall, Chooch is probably the better closer out of the two. Because I think Bob Boone was decent, but I think what Carlos, I don't know, like it's crazy, because my grandfather bought this idea of like who had the better roster. Was it the 1980s Phillies or the 2008? Now, you can make an argument there were some pieces that were better than others, and some were kind of worse. And we all know that the third baseman, the 80s Phillies had it by far, because he still had probably MVP Mike Schmidt, who clubbed over 500 home runs. But I'll talk about that and kind of touch more. But so obviously with the NFL draft back in 2020, but there you go. It does say that the 1999 season did not bode well for neither the Phillies nor the Cardinals. Both teams finished trailing the division by more than 20 games and tied for allowing 5.2 runs per game, which is 15th and 16th most in the league. And it showed that therefore, the following year's draft, the Cardinals held the 13th pick. The Phillies were 15th. As it turns, and then she goes on to say, blah, blah, but both teams needed a middle infielder. Only one had been selected among the first 12 picks in the draft. And the Cardinals selected shortstop Luis Montanez into the oh geez. Okay. Ooh. Okay, no. So these are the draft. Hand, I actually don't mind it if he can go back to what he. Okay. Actually, Hunter, that's a good question you asked. I actually liked it, because and now that I think about it, because I wish we could have had him earlier when he was very good. I think he's still a good reliever to have, but it's just most likely he's going to be probably, give or take. I think you're going to have Familia as the eighth inning guy. You can probably have Hand as the seventh, because it's most likely Corey Knebel, who is going to be our closer. Which, let's be real, and funny, since I mentioned Corey Knebel twice in the stream, I did make a video about the trade predictions and possibility of free agent signing. Corey Knebel is one of those guys I really wanted as a free agent signing. Then it's just like, and then when the news broke that Corey Knebel was signed with Philly, it's like, well, there goes my prediction. Oh yeah, and that's what I said. A lot of these players can bounce back. I know, like Familia. I know, like you said, not worth $6 million, which true. I mean, everyone can make an argument on that, but if you look at it, like if he can bounce, like for me, like if you can get like this, and with Familia, yeah, absolutely, and especially with Familia too. I actually really like the Familia sign, but I thought we could have given him a little bit cheaper than $6 million, which I really do agree with Hunter. Because I thought, like a 1 year $6 million. For me, I thought in my mind it was cheap for when it comes to like a veteran player, because it's like a lot of teams don't really spend, don't really overpay for veterans, but I do understand. If you have not checked out Hunter for the Phillies Insider Podcast, I think he said the best too. Exactly, and this is why yeah, absolutely. But if it can be what he was back in 2015 and 2016, where he was just super disgusting, where I think 2015 was his all-star year, if I'm not mistaken. But if he can be like that, this 2015, 2016 stuff, I thought it was a great signing. And like I said this too, I think another guy I think we should keep, or at least try to at least hold on to. Obviously, when it comes to the bullpen arms, is Archie Bradley. And I'll say this too, because it's like, yes, the oblique injury sucked. He wasn't his best self, but at least he tried to give it a shot towards the end of the year. I think overall, I thought he was solid. Like I said, I thought Bradley was solid. Oh yeah, that is true, and that's a very good point because, and I've seen that, and I've watched a few games, and look, I get his rookie year was not this best, but I thought he had potential, but he was at times had command issues, but I don't think command issues. I think that can be really worked out. Same, I mean, you can make the same argument with Alvarado too. Alvarado I actually like, but like I think you can compare this to with Familia. It's command issues. They both got electric stuff, and that's the location. That is very. I can get behind that. But kind of go over especially mentioned the 2000 draft. So we all know that Adrian Gonzalez, surprising when he announced his retirement, it's like, really? I don't remember. Because like when he first announced his retirement, it's just like, what was because that was just crazy to see him retire. But Adam Johnson goes to the Twins, got Montanez to the Cubs, Sadolka to the Royals, got Justin Wayne go to the Expos. Rocco Bodelli to the Temple Bay Devil Rays. Matt Harrington going to the Rockies. Got Matt Wheatland going to the Tigers. You had Mark Phillips to the Padres. Joe Torres to the Anaheim Angels, which, let's be real, they should go back to the Anaheim Angels. Oh, man, you're choosing me one of the three? God damn. That's a good. Oh, I like three, but he can choose one. Damn it. For me, I feel like Bryant, for me, is the best option because he can bring you multiple, being that versatile player that he is. Like, say, let's just say, for example, we give Oliver the day off at third. He could be the DH for a couple of games or so. And we can put Bone back at third. He can have him in left. But let's be real. I mean, Bryant was not that bad as a left fielder from in games that I saw. I thought he has done well since, from his time with the Cubs and obviously with Joe Madden kind of sticking him out there. But it's just saw how it worked. But kind of finish up. Oh God, I'm really going to butcher this. But Dave Krenzel to the Brewers, got Joe Borchard to the White Sox, Sean Boyd to the Cardinals. And Bo Hale, God, I haven't heard that name in forever, to the Orioles. And we got Utley going to pick 15 to the Philadelphia Phillies. But, Hunter, I don't know if you caught what I said, because I don't know if you saw this, but the White Sox signing Vince Velasquez is agreeing to a contract with the White Sox. It's like, oh, boy. Well, that's another team that's going to be. But it's just like, as we all know, the history of the Phillies has gone back. The Phillies is one of the older teams in Major League Baseball. Obviously, the Reds is the very first oldest team since been the late 18. How long was it? I can't remember the year, but I know it's like the. Hey, look, and speaking of Vince Velasquez, because us Phillies fans, we had to deal with his inconsistent. He was just super inconsistent. Just could not, and which is bad too. Like, your pitcher's like so bad it can't even get past the fourth inning, which is very bad, for a starting pitcher. If you can't get past the fourth inning, I mean, it's really horrible. It's really bad to see, but kind of touch up a few things, because I will talk about more of this going into, what to like, especially with the expectations, and kind of maybe bring some people on, kind of give their thoughts on it too at the same time. But but it just shows that from what I've been hearing, but the fact that the Bryson Stott is going to get a look at in Major League camp, which is a very good sign for me that I want to see Bryson Stott up here. And the reason is, it's like I mentioned just before, earlier, I think many of me and many other Phillies fans, we want Didi out of here. But let's just say if Didi does bounce back and become what he was in 2020, granted it was a short 60-game sample size, I don't know, man. Like, it's going to be tough, but I feel like Bone's going to bounce back. I know Noah's going to bounce back heavily because I think I still have faith in Nola because I think he's still got good stuff. I think Realmuto is going to come bounce back. And this is why, and that, even like last year, this is what kind of annoyed me is the kind of slander that Realmuto has at times. Because because I kind of improved this, and I said this too, like, as soon as he broke his thumb in spring training, like, he kind of just, was not the same in terms of when he swung the bat. Like, it was just hard to really, for him to get back, swinging the bat, what he normally would, when after, breaking his thumb in spring training, dealt with, I think 2 concussions, if I'm not mistaken, from the top of my head. I mean, that's not an easy thing either. I mean, we saw, and sometimes that's another thing too, but, yeah, I mean, I think that's all I got for you guys today. But yeah, I appreciate for those who stuck around. If you guys like what you saw, definitely smash the like button and definitely hit the subscribe when you guys are new to the channel. But with that being said, huge shout out to the Hunter from the Affiliate Insider podcast coming through. We got Key, Koo, who's always been a huge supporter from the Spotlight Sports Network, Naomi TKO, Steve, Asia Robinson, my good buddy, Mets Talk with Hayden. I appreciate it, Hunter. But with that being said, this is Robert from the Philly Sports Talk Podcast. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.